Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, Advanced Mac Management for EDU. Thanks for joining us. Now, as everyone is still getting signed in, we'll just go over a few housekeeping terms. Please think of questions throughout the webinar and direct them to the Q&A section. We'll be answering them throughout and at the end of the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and we will share the recording with you shortly after the webinar is finished. If we don't get to all of your questions, we'll follow up with you afterwards. You can either reach out to us at info@jamf.com and we'll be happy to get in contact with you or someone from Jamf as quickly as possible. My name is Matt Pullen and I'm going to be guiding you through today's session along with my colleague Anthony Darlow. And here's a quick look at our agenda. First, I'm going to do a quick introduction to Jamf in education. Then I'm going to pass it over to Ant to take a deep dive into how you can go further with your Mac management in Jamf School. Then I'll quickly share the Jamf solutions that can help build a well-rounded approach to managing and securing your devices. At Jamf, our mission is to help institutions succeed with Apple. We bridge that gap between what Apple creates and what education requires. And we've been helping organisations succeed with Apple for more than 20 years. Today, Jamf helps more than 67,000 customers that manage and secure more than 28 million Apple devices. And our customers include 10 out of the top 10 global universities, 7 out of the top 10 largest US school districts, and 10 out of the top 16 best school districts in the US. We've seen Apple adoption take off over the last few years, and we've seen our education being transformed by Apple. And we do all this by creating enterprise secure solutions for any kind of institution that are education simple and protect the privacy of your students and staff. And we believe that MDM and security go hand in hand. So let's talk about some of those advanced capabilities and workflows that Jamf can help with. And to do this, I want to hand it over to Ant Darlow to lead you through this section.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so let's talk about Mac management in Jamf School. I always feel that things are more relatable when we take real examples that, as admins, still kind of bug us a little. One thing that I know all school admins still do, if you are lucky, only once a year, is to take a Mac lab, wipe, rebuild and return it to service. For Mac labs, this used to be easy, when we used to use imaging. But of course, we all know that for some time now, imaging is dead. That doesn't stop many admins still longing for the days where you could build the perfect Mac, take an image and then boot up a whole lab of Macs with a few clicks, stamp that image on every Mac. We had nice interfaces with progress bars, and it was nice and easy to pop in and out of a lab and see the progress of a deployment and know when the Macs were ready to be used by our students. Now, imaging is dead, but the problem of returning devices back to service is still with us. When we come to the end of an academic year or semester, we have a very short time frame to do any work on those machines. Things like updating applications, maybe there's a new version of Photoshop that needs to be updated. We need to make sure that it works. We might need to test new operating systems that Apple have released, or just generally new apps that are being deployed. You might have new hardware, you then have troublesome printers, or you might just be redeploying machines to different rooms. Without imaging, it's all become a massive manual effort. That is unless you use the Mac management that we have available in Jamf School. So there we have our real world example. We want and need a return to service workflow that can be accomplished with as little hands-on time as possible. And by that, I mean having IT staff standing at machines in the labs and clicking buttons. And as a big cherry on top, it would be great if we can also provide that visual feedback that we got with imaging, things like loading bars, progress, status, just so that we know exactly where we are in the deployment and when a machine is ready. We'll start to do this by looking at the basics and then build on these foundations with specific Jamf School management and finally look at third-party tools to add that big cherry. So starting with the basics, we'll look at what's available in the MDM framework and how Jamf School utilises these features. In the years after imaging, Apple have continued to add features with each OS release to really help admins redesign their return to service workflows. The first one to point out is Erase All Contents and Settings. Erase All Contents and Settings allows us to delete user data but leave the OS intact, much like we can with an iPad. This saves huge amounts of time by not needing to reinstall macOS and download huge OS installers to put the Mac back to that hello screen. And this can be all done remotely, so admins don't need to get hands-on to make this happen. From the Jamf School console, you can see how easy it is to do this. Simply select the Macs that are in the lab that you're working on and hit the wipe device command. As you'll see from this screen, your Macs do need to be T2 or Apple Silicon and at least Monterey to make use of the Erase All Content settings. We can also select the default fallback behaviour, just in case there's any errors. This stops us from accidentally ending up with machines that we've wiped the old way and needing to reinstall the OS. So what does that look like on the device? First, you'll see the device restarts all on its own once the wipe command is received. Given that these are Mac labs, there's a good chance that these Macs are connected to the network with an Ethernet cable, and that's kind of key to this workflow. Once the device restarts, it lands on this activation screen, and if the Mac is hardwired in with Ethernet, it will automatically run through the activation and reboot one more time and then land on the first screen, just like any freshly wiped Mac. This has all been done by clicking one button in the Jamf School console, and there's no need to have an IT member of staff in the lab at this time. So that's great, we have a fresh OS, but that's of course only part of the rebuild. In another post-imaging macOS update, Apple added another feature that enables IT to quickly turn around machines with minimal effort. This was called Auto Advance. Simply plug the Mac into Ethernet, which we've already done from that last step, power on and watch the Mac automatically set up moving from the hello screen to the account creation or login screen. And of course, with automated device enrollment, we can also skip setup assistant panes that we don't need. We've integrated Apple School Manager and Jamf School here, and we can start to simplify the workflow with automated device enrollment and Auto Advance. Auto Advance is configured through an automated device enrollment profile, and we simply select the zero touch setup and then choose the language and region that we want our Mac to set up in. At this point, we'll likely also create a local admin on the device. In MATLAB situations, it can still be really useful to have a local admin on all machines for ongoing management. So let's take a look at this process. Notice how the mouse in the top corner does not move at all. And since the Mac is connected via Ethernet, Auto Advance will take over. The language and region that we selected in our automated device enrollment profile is selected, and then all of those setup panes are moved through until, in this case, we reach the login screen. There, we're ready to log in with the local admin account that we also created in that automated device profile. So far we've been able to erase the Mac and then advance through all the screens until we get to the login window. As part of that, thanks to automated device enrollment, we have also enrolled into Jamf School. So that means in the background, the Mac could have been receiving all sorts of configurations and apps. But how do we know, as that admin that's on site, that the build is complete? Do we log into every machine to check all the apps have been successfully installed? Probably not. What if there's an error with an install? How would we know? What about all of the apps that aren't in the Mac App Store? Of course, there are ways to report this within Jamf School, but that might take some time to report through. And as an IT admin, I'm actually only in the school for this afternoon. I've got other jobs to do, so I need to know about this kind of stuff now. The other way to look at this is to turn it on its head. How does a user know not to touch a machine that's still building? Do we put a sticky note on the monitor that would fall off? How about a piece of paper that we stick to the screen that says do not use? They're not really fantastic ways of doing it. There must be better ways. So we've used the basics so far to quickly and efficiently wipe the Mac, enroll into Jamf School and land on the login screen. Let's now look at what else over MDM that Jamf School has to offer macOS and how these open the door to our third-party tools. Jamf School has a scripting module which enables you to run custom Bash and Apple scripts on Macs that are enrolled into Jamf School. Once the scripting package is installed, admins can remotely and centrally send and execute scripts to the devices in a way that is encrypted and secure. These can be triggered at various times, from a one and done to every login or a daily schedule. And for anybody that's scripted before, you'll know that your imagination is the limit in terms of additional workflows and settings you can produce with a script. We also have package deployment, or as we call it in Jamf School, in-house macOS apps. This is how we can easily and centrally deploy apps that are outside of the Mac App Store, access third-party tools, or build your own custom packages with a tool like Jamf Composer. It's these two features that enable us as admins to start to take advantage of third-party tools, and the Jamf Marketplace is a great place to start. Two of these tools that we're going to take advantage of that are from the Jamf Marketplace are Enrollment and Swift Dialog. Enrollment is a tool which simplifies and automates deployments of more than 450 applications. And the best part is, we don't need to maintain multiple software titles in terms of uploading packages to Jamf School, or keeping things up to date, or ensuring each build of a machine has the latest version of the software, because Automator takes care of all of this for us. And then Swift Dialog is a utility that creates macOS dialogues and feedback screens to the users using variables in scripts or from the command line. So let's enhance our return to service workflow using Jamf School Mac management features of package deployments and custom scripts, and the Jamf Marketplace tools of Enrollment and Swift Dialog. First, we'll upload the Enrollment package directly to Jamf School, or using Composer, we can build a custom package which can contain other resources which we might need for our dialog screens on the target devices, things like images or icons. Next, I've created a custom script which interacts with Enrollment to install our required software and provides Swift Dialog with the commands that it needs to display a dialog window, giving that much needed feedback to admins when they're building a machine. The script itself took a little while to build, and it suits my need, but once it's correct, I know that every build will look the same. As I said, scripting is only limited by your imagination, so what I've done here is a pretty simple example. Next, we need to scope in our target Mac lab or labs so that they receive the Enrollment package as well as the script, along with any other configuration profiles and Mac App Store apps that are required to build this lab. Finally, when we're ready to go, we use the Erase All Content and Settings and Auto Advanced workflows we've already discussed. Since we've already seen the Erase All Content and Settings and Auto Advanced experience, let's pick up on our Return to Service workflow at the login screen and see the enhanced parts of our workflow in action. First, I'll log in with that local admin account that I created as part of the automated device enrollment profile. And as you'll see, some of the config profiles have already landed on the device. Settings for the wallpaper and the dock, for example. And in the background, the Enrollment package is installing and the custom script running. Using the custom script, we've actually used Enrollment to install our second tool, Swift Dialog, and that's pretty cool. Now we can start to see the fruits of our package deployment of Enrollment and scripting of Swift Dialog in action. The window that you're currently looking at is the Swift Dialog tool, and everything that you can see from icons to text is completely customizable. We've also ran this in full screen so that a user can't start using the Mac before it's ready, so we don't need to put those sticky notes on the screens after all. You can see here, this is the list of the software that we are using Enrollment to install on the machine, and that Swift Dialog now has loading bars to give us feedback on what we're waiting on, what's currently installing, any errors, statuses, and it's easy to see where in our deployment the device is. Again, this is all completely customizable. For example, those app icons. Remember how I said you could customize the package that contained the Enrollment package before uploading to Jamf School with additional resources, things like icons and images? Well, here is an example of why you might want to add these additional resources. It does look a lot nicer. So it looks like Installer has finished deploying apps, but these aren't going to be the only apps that we deploy to a Mac. We'll surely also have apps from the App Store, and it would be nice to know that they're installed as well. And remember, I've said this a few times now, but with scripting, your only limitation is your imagination. So with a few extra lines of code and using Swift Dialog to display feedback to us, we can also check to see if our App Store apps have been installed too. In this case, it looks like they have, and we've got a complete build of our Mac. As a little extra, once we come out of that full screen, there's a nice little message that the Mac is ready to be used. Now just think, if you're an admin running between a few different Mac labs, or you've got a Mac lab deployment as well as a few other jobs on this particular day, you can quite easily see each one of your machines and where they're up to with progress bars, or maybe you pop your head into a room and you see this message on all of your Macs and know that the deployment is complete for that lab. It's a pretty great place to be. And maybe importantly, for those people still missing all that feedback you got whilst using images workflows, this return to service workflow might just feel like that warm fuzzy blanket you've been needing. Now, our example here has been for Mac Labs, but I'm sure that you can see how this can really enhance the end user's experience if this was a one-to-one deployment as well. So that's my example of an enhanced return to service workflow using the advanced Mac management features of Jamf School. With in-house macOS apps, you can upload vendor packages or create your own using Composer. Turn on the scripting modules and start to create custom scripts from Jamf School and have them remotely execute on devices. Take advantage of all those third-party tools available in the Jamf marketplace. And finally, something we didn't cover today, but explore the Jamf School API to see how you can further enhance and automate your workflows and managements of your devices. Of course, we didn't cover what you would install as part of this workflow, and that would be unique for each education institution, but it does go without saying that we'd recommend to deploy our security solutions as part of this workflow. I'm going to pass you back to Matt to explore these with you a little bit more.
Thanks, Ant. Now, as we talk about advanced Mac management, I want to quickly share what the security landscape looks like. We're of the belief that to have good security, you need strong management. According to PwC's recently released 2023 Global Digital Trust Insights report, cybersecurity has improved in many ways since 2020, with over 70% of the 3,500 C-suite leaders from a wide range of industries and global locations initiated improvements in cybersecurity in 2021. But we still have a long way to go. 38% of respondents believed that they had completely mitigated risks relating to enabling remote and hybrid work. For instance, 35% reported complete mitigation of issues around swiftly accelerated cloud adoption. However, only 3% report that they have fully mitigated emerging cyber risks. Scary truth of it all? Unfortunately, cyber criminals only need one way in to create havoc. So we want to have a look at some of our security solutions that can support you in that process. Jamf Safe Internet provides a console integrated into Jamf School that makes deployment and syncing simple. When it comes to student safety, this is essential and it just works. We wanted to ensure that whoever was tasked with this role could just get it done, whether you're that classroom teacher with additional responsibility or the IT technician. Safe Internet was designed to make the role easier for you. You could choose from preset policies or make them bespoke to your learner needs, and all with the protection from phishing and malware threats. And developed exclusively for macOS, Jamf Protect provides a complete solution to maintain that endpoint compliance. It can monitor for, respond to, and remediate security incidents on macOS with minimal impact to the device and that end user experience. With the development of the education security landscape, you need a solution that protects from the ever-increasing threats targeting education and disrupting learning. It's a purpose-built macOS endpoint protection with same-day support and those robust integrations to play nice with your existing solutions. So when we look at the solution for security, from content filtering to network threats, Jamf Safe Internet combined with Jamf Protect offer education users that peace of mind. And Jamf Connect simplifies that over-the-air setup for Apple by allowing the user to authenticate against a cloud identity provider. And it gives admins the ability to centrally and remotely manage users and their passwords to give access to learning and teaching tools, and giving those users the ability to access Mac with a single identity that's synchronized in the cloud, reducing password fatigue, meaning that focus remains on learning and teaching and not on the IT. I hope that this overview shows you how Jamf is uniquely positioned to provide complete management and security solutions for an Apple-first environment in education, and how the management tools go beyond the deployment but can also impact directly on learning and teaching and provide new opportunities for IT to empower the learner and the educator. Some next steps. For more information around how Jamf supports higher education, why not check out our ebook on Apple Technology Essentials in Higher Education? And of course, we're nothing without our customers, and that's proven with the Jamf Nation community. This online forum is home to over 100,000 Apple IT-focused individuals that learn from each other, discuss best practices, and have access to a wealth of resources and third-party tools. Create a new account today and join in that discussion. And of course, the marketplace that Ant mentioned before, tools and resources to help make that Jamf platform even more useful to our customers. So thanks for listening. We'll email you a recording when it is ready. And if you're ready to get started with Jamf, why not scan the QR code to get in touch with us? Thank you.